Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. This week we're in Harrington, Washington with Justin and Heather Slack of the Post and Office, a local coffee shop and co-working space. As self-described accidental business owners, Justin and Heather are sharing about their quick move to Harrington and the adventures that have followed, from opening up a new business to Justin's new role as mayor. Plus, you'll appreciate the perspective they gain from their time spent living in a big city and the why behind everything they're doing. So here we go with Justin and Heather Slack. Well, we're here in Harrington, Washington with Heather and Justin Slack of the Post and Office. Guys, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. Are you both from Washington originally?
I am. I'm from Seattle area. I grew up there and then went to school in Spokane for college.
Okay.
I'm originally from Northern California by Sacramento. So Heather and I met in college, and then we've been living in Seattle for about 20 years, and then 5 years ago moved here to Harrington.
Well, what was special about this town to make it stand out to you and make you choose this town?
When I was a kid, I would come spend summers with my grandparents who lived here in Harrington. Both of my folks graduated from Harrington, grew up here, so it was a place that was would come visit family and spend time here when I was little. So it always had a place in my heart. And when Justin and I were in school in Spokane, we would come down and spend time with my grandparents and come to annual festivals that were down here, come down during harvest, and just spend holidays here sometimes. So it was always a place that was just kind of a calm and peaceful place for us to come and visit family.
Yeah.
And then we were in Seattle and trying to look for something different for our family. We have a daughter now is 16 and our son is 12, and we could continue living in the urban sprawl around Seattle, but I had a job in downtown Seattle, so it was just going to continue to make that nightly commute, 2 hours instead of an hour and a half or whatnot. So we thought, well, let's just try something different, and it was far enough away to where it was kind of doable. It took 45 minutes or 45 miles to the airport, and which is about 45 minutes out here. I always tell the folks there it's more tractor jams and traffic jams. But in Seattle, we live 10 miles from the airport, and it was 45 minutes. So I can travel, I travel quite a bit. So the airport, it's actually great.
And now you have this great lifestyle here.
That's right.
Right. We were just spinning our wheels in Seattle, and it just didn't feel like we were getting where we wanted to go, and just decided kind of on a whim, you know what? Let's just try Harrington. If it doesn't work out, we'll do something different, but let's just give it a try. And it's the best thing we ever did.
Wow.
We love it.
It was about a week. It's a great story, actually, because our daughter was in a private school, and at the summer, the school board president called Heather and said, hey, we're worried about our funding for this year, and we don't know if we can make it through December. So not even the school year, but the half school year. And so that was in early July or mid-July, and so we were like, wait, what are we going to do? And we've already known all the other schools that we thought could work, but they weren't going to work for us for various reasons. And so I said, Heather said, well, let me check out in Harrington. And I said, yeah, that's fine. We have like 5 things, we have to check off: a job, house, schools, our folks, our parents and things. And so I was going off to Chicago, though, for a week. And so Heather picked up the phone, called the school, started talking to people. And then I got back from Chicago, and we literally parked the kids with her parents. We drove, didn't tell her parents what we were doing over here, just told them we were coming to check something out, and came over and looked around, got a tour. I told my manager at work that, hey, we're considering doing this. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And within 2 weeks, we found a house that there was no houses for sale that were available that fit. My work said fine. The school turned out to be, had great programs for our kids. And 2 weeks later, Heather and the kids moved over here, and I followed 2 weeks later.
Wow, that is a great story.
But the best part is that, like Justin said, there weren't very many houses available, and so we had a gal kind of helping find houses, and she sent us this picture of one, and it was actually across the street from the house where my dad grew up, and it was my great uncle's home. And we had a bedroom set in our house that my grandma had bought for us that came out of that house that our daughter was using, and it was like, whoa, really? That house is available? It's an awesome house. We just felt like so lucky. We were immediately like, yep, we'll take it. Let's do it.
But if you tell that story, then you got to tell the story about how your grandma got it. So it's Heather's paternal family house. In 1980, I always heard the story from her grandma, her mom's mom, that Heather's dad's family, there was a family at a estate sale. The family was downsizing or whatever, so she went and bought in 1980 this bedroom set for Heather to have later, and so we had it. But it ended up being the piece of furniture or bedroom set out of this house, and that was the first piece because of the way we had to move. That was the first piece of furniture back in the house. So
we don't know if it's in the same bedroom or not, but
yeah,
it's back in the same house.
35 years later.
Never, ever did I ever imagine that we would be living in Harrington. It just wasn't.
If you had asked us a week before we made this decision, I would have told you there was no way we would
What?
never.
What are you talking about? No, never.
I work at a bank. It's a town of
We're
420
established where
people.
we were.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden everything started clicking, and it was like, wait a second, like if nothing else, like if it doesn't, we always don't look at things like as failures. Like if it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. But it doesn't mean it didn't work. We learned something from it. It's a learning experience for us and our family. So it was kind of. It's all turned. It's 5 years next week. Well, next 2 weeks for Heather and the kids coming over here. So we moved in late August to start school, and it was 5 years ago. And so it's haven't looked back, and it's been awesome.
Wow. Well, you moved here quickly, and then at some point you had an idea to open a coffee shop. What made you decide on a coffee shop?
Well, I told somebody, like, we're accidental business people. Like we never had a vision to open a coffee shop. We never had a vision to be business owners, to do anything. But so I work remotely for a bank based in Seattle, and I travel kind of up and down the West Coast. But right when we moved here, they had a grant for high-speed fiber internet in this 4-block stretch of town or downtown here. And so after 2 years working out of an home office, the internet just wasn't very stable over there. And so we said, let's try to find a building that we can make an office out of. And this was the smallest building that we could find that we thought was manageable. Again, we weren't rehabbers or anything. And this building was for sale. And so we bought it. It took us 6 weeks to get the power turned on because it hadn't been on so long, and couldn't get an electrician out here because we're more than 50 miles from Spokane. And then we started realizing what we were looking. We found some old pictures and realized that Heather's great-grandfather had an insurance business next door. And at one point, he also maybe had owned this building too. He was, while it was a post office, he was the building owner. And then we said, it deserves more than an office, like a little, I was going to work out of here in these, you can't see it on the radio here, but big picture, picture glass windows. And it was like, it needs more than that. And we're like, okay, well, what does that mean? And so we thought, well, what can we do? And we don't have a restaurant here. The last one closed about 15 years ago. And said, we want a place for the community to be able to come hang out. We have a post office right now that's, all P.O. boxes. So you might get lucky to run into somebody there. Or at the grocery store, I'd say this is like the world's smallest grocery store. It's about the size of a mini mart, but it's got meat lockers and everything else. And so we said, let's do something where people can just come hang out. And then it was like, well, what's going to draw them? What are they going to want to come in here for? And we said, well, we came from Seattle. It's like the coffee capital of the world. We have an espresso machine at home. We could learn how to make coffee for other people. And that basically the size of the building and whatnot, that's how we kind of thought, well, this is going to be what we're going to do. So that was in probably April or May, and then in July of 2017, it started working on it. So.
Wow. So how did you learn the coffee business?
We just started talking to people and found a place to get a local roaster in Spokane to get our coffee from, and they offered to get us equipment and train us on some stuff. And we'd spent, I would say, quite a few hours in coffee shops in Seattle. So we taught ourselves and found
Went to Spokane and met
professionals
some
to help
other
us.
local coffee shops too, and
Yeah.
I travel quite a bit, so I'd take a lot of pictures, and so I'd send her all these pictures from either a Starbucks or some other, like a local mom and pop coffee store, and whether it was the furniture, the coffee, the type of equipment, the refrigerators, the cabinets, we just hundreds of pictures and experiences, and we spent a lot of time in Spokane too, just going to small local purveyors of coffee shops and
Talking to people.
and every time we told somebody like what we were doing and where we lived, then they knew we weren't competition because we lived so far away. They're like, oh, let me tell you about it. And it was really cool because then people, they didn't really know us at all. And Spokane's pretty big. So, but it had that small town, like, let me tell you what I learned or what we did. And so kind of just made it up, from there.
And you decided to kind of help meet some of the needs in the town. Like you mentioned, there aren't all maybe the services that you would want, like a restaurant and things, but you decided to offer more than just coffee.
The whole purpose of this business and redoing this building was to provide a space for the community to come together. And that's what brings us the most joy from it every day, is seeing the people come in and connect with each other. And honestly, every single day we have some kind of story to tell each other at the end of the day, like, guess who came in, or guess how this happened. Someone came in and they turned around and there was, a teacher that taught them when they were in first grade and they haven't been back for 25 years or whatever. And just like, or people that live out in the country and don't come to town very often, and they walk in the coffee shop and a friend that they haven't seen forever sitting in the chair and they're like, I haven't seen you for so long. And it just starts these awesome conversations. It makes people so happy. It's just great. And
you can't explain it. It's almost, I feel like you can get goosebumps just thinking about it. And the funny thing about when I came back this afternoon from down the street, I saw a Jeep out front with Oklahoma license plates. And I thought, wait a second, that's kind of weird. And it had an Alaska bumper sticker too. And so I walked in the coffee shop and there was someone else, and to people I didn't recognize, I said, "Hey, is that your guys' Jeep out there?" And they kind of looked at me like, "Yeah, why?" And I go, "I see Oklahoma plates. Are you from Oklahoma?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Funny thing," I said, "there's some other lady here from Oklahoma too, in Harrington of all places, in the middle of August, early part of August. And so I started talking to him, and I didn't know who he was. And he said, "Well, you're Heather's husband." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, well, I think you went to college with our daughter." And I said, and he said, "Oh, Rihanna Graham." And I said, "Oh, that's okay." And I said, "Oh, and there's a picture on the wall, a campaign poster from the 1950s." And I was like, "Was that your dad?" And he goes, "No, that's my uncle. That's my Uncle Jimmy." And then, so I ended up talking to him for like 45 minutes, and it's just crazy. And then they live in Oklahoma, but even when they left, I said, "It's a small world. You guys, your daughter grew up in New Mexico. We met her in college. They happen to be, you guys are families from the same town that Heather's family is originally from. And here it is 25 years later, like we're in the same coffee shop again. And they're just here passing through for the summer. Just crazy."
It's all about the connections. It really is. And when we lived in Seattle, we didn't necessarily know our neighbors or didn't necessarily have the same kind of relationships as we have with people here. There's a small town, and there's just something about connections that you make with these people. And we've made friends with people that I didn't know before until we moved here, and now they're just so dear to us. Local people that share stories and bring pieces of history in, or bring photos in of our family, or want to tell us things about the building, or tell us things about our home that happened, a long time ago. And just there's so much pride in this town. And it just feels like home.
And not to say we didn't even try, not that we didn't try in Seattle or the suburbs there, but it's a slower pace of life out here. It's technically 51 miles outside of the city of Spokane, so it doesn't seem like it's that great. But if you ever want anything delivered from a Home Depot or a big box store, it's not within the 50-mile radius. It's 51, and I'm like, you tell people that we're 51 miles, and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, it's 50," And so then all of a sudden you come to rely on people more and more. So the next town in one direction is 13 miles, and the other one's 24 miles. So we go to Spokane to go to Costco still, but instead of going there 4 or 5 nights a week like we did in Seattle, we go there once every 2 weeks now, and we make it's a decision.
The conveniences definitely are different, and there's a big change between where we lived before, where it was real convenient to everything, and now it's not. But we had someone ask us yesterday, the two of us together, they said, has there ever been a time when you regretted this decision? We both looked at each other like, not once, never. Even though it's different, and yeah, you have to plan to go get things, and you have to, to supply a coffee shop out here is very different. You can't have everything delivered, and they don't make deliveries out here. You go get it yourself. You load the car up yourself. You unload it yourself.
Heather drives every 2 weeks, 13 miles to meet in a parking lot of the guy driving on the highway going to the next coffee shop.
It's 6 in the morning.
It's 6 in the morning on Friday. That's
okay.
That's the
we
best.
don't even think twice about it. It's different, but we love it.
Wow. That's great. I got to experience something cool here today. When we first got into town, a farmer stopped in, and we're in the middle of wheat harvest. And Justin, he said, "Oh, we actually had somebody who said he wants to take care of drinks for farmers." And I just thought, that's so neat. That's only in a small town, that was really a cool thing.
Well, it is, and harvest just started here within the last week, and Heather had a post, I think, on Instagram, but, said, hey, if you see a farmer, say thank you. And that's kind of the mentality here, because there's a lot of agriculture in this area, and that's their livelihood, which then it's a symbiotic relationship with the existence of this town. Most farmers don't live in the city limits of Harrington. There's only 420 people here, but in the surrounding area with the school district, there's plenty of, that's where most of the farmers are at. But it is, and the guy you saw the look on his face. He didn't believe it. He was thankful, and he is appreciative, and he's like, that's the third farmer this morning that we said that to, or today. The first guy said, I'll come back and pay for it. We said, no, we're serious. And he's like, well, I'll figure it out somehow. But it was, I kind of get goosebumps thinking about that too. So it's a cool, it's hard to explain, and even the slowness of it. It's things here, they don't move as fast, and it's okay. Some people don't want to move fast. Other people want them to go fast, but if you force it, like, you're going to get stuck behind a tractor. A big combine, they're moving their harvesters from one field to the next. You're just stuck. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's it forces you to slow down and, like they say, enjoy the, smell the roses, enjoy the coffee, whatever. But it's cool.
It's true. When you moved here, was there already some things going on to help revive the downtown? Or have you just really seen a lot of that happen since you've been here and since you've been a part of that?
I think we got here just as things were starting. We had, so there was a wonderful man that had moved to town and started a car garage. He was rehabbing old cars and started a Studebaker garage, and really put a lot of that together, and really was getting some momentum going with that. And he was the president of our PDA and worked really hard to get a grant to get the high-speed internet to come to town. And so now we have all of our downtown district, it has high-speed internet available to it through fiber. And that really made a difference. We jumped on that right away. That makes it possible for Justin to work remotely from our shop here, and we have shared office space in the back that has been great for a lot of people, and really provides a service that's needed here out when we're so far away. And that had just started when we moved here, and Karen and Jerry up at the hotel, they'd already been working on things, but they were just kind of starting to get some momentum going too, and a lot has changed in their building between when we first got here and what they're doing now. So there's a strong group of people that really want to keep this place going, and there's a lot of towns around us that have not been able to do that. They've just slowly kind of shut down and haven't been able to keep up and keep their buildings secure, and we have some really good people here that are working hard to keep things going.
I think too that it's, for us, say, outsiders coming here, you don't see this every day, and so they don't know what they're going to lose until they lose it. You can tell them that a little bit, but the kind of the cool thing too, we had the farmers that come here every Friday now for coffee that support us. When we were working in here, and I said I didn't have power for 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks, and it was in the middle of winter. I was pulling down all the lath and plaster on Saturday afternoons during daylight, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, what? And it was a different concept for them, because they they spend their hard-earned dollars on their, their family farms and things of that nature. And I said, oh, I'm going to do this and that. And they kind of like, whatever. And I think they'd seen people here before have projects start, but then not really carry through. And that was one of the first things. We were basically less than a year from when we acquired the building till we opened the doors. It was 10 months roughly. And but I heard a lot of people go, you guys actually did it. And I never thought I thought it'd be at least 5 years. And it was like, again, what's the expectation? We don't know, but we want to, and actually it was, I said it took 10 months, but it was probably 7 months longer than we wanted to take because we had to get contractors out here and, to get an inspector to come. It was crazy. I mean, they don't come here every time, like in a regular, if you want to get a building permit in a big city, they'll come out in 2 days. Here, it's 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. But, so yeah, there's been definitely more happening since we had, but like Heather said, there's Alan Barth, the guy that started they call it the Studebaker Garage. If you still talk to most people from here, it's the Ford Garage, the old Ford Garage, even though it has Studebaker written all over it, and it's a beautiful building with Studebakers lining, in there. But yeah, that, and there's more going on now, and we've really tried to promote that, and a few buildings have turned over since then, and one person's trying to revitalize an old tavern, and he took the roof off because he thought it would be easier, but because it's a 26-foot span, he couldn't get trusses that wide, and so the company said, we won't sell them to you. So for a year and a half, he was the only topless bar in Lincoln County, what they called it, But he's back on track now. So he's doing that and working hard, and he's got the back wall in. He's got, but again, it takes time, and so, but it's definitely, I think we didn't mean to be, but I think we tried to be, or ended up being like an ignition switch or a spark. They saw that it could be done, and plenty of people here come go, man, this is just awesome. Like, you guys, it was here before, it's been here. And I was like, they'll say, well, you need to open a restaurant now. So there's a building across the street, you can go open a restaurant if you like, So we've been trying to say, hey, take the opportunity yourself. Like, it is what it is, and
When we came here, I think we both looked at it as we could see opportunity everywhere we looked. Instead of seeing old rundown buildings and nothing happening here, we looked around and thought, this is a really great place to raise a family. It's a great place to be. There's a ton of opportunity here, and we kind of ran with that.
And I agree that the buildings here are really cool, and they're just sitting here waiting for, what's next. So that's really exciting. Justin, at some point, you have since become mayor.
Yes, that's right.
So I would love for you to talk a little bit about your role in that and why it's important that the next generation steps up and serves in those roles and takes on leadership so that we can see our rural communities continue to grow and evolve.
Yeah, it's funny because I ran for city council a year after the regular election, and we moved here, and it was an open seat, and won that position. And then the mayor that ran the same time I did, who was elected, ended up resigning about a little more than a year ago, 14 months ago. And so I kind of said, well, I was willing to do it until this next election here in November. And in our council base, or the makeup of it, there was no one. There's been since somebody appointed to council, but no one else had we have a business now here, which actually afterwards, Heather and I talked about doing it, and we listed the pros and the cons, and it was like, well, what happens if I make a new decision and people say, we're not going to go to your coffee shop, and at first I didn't even think that. I was like, oh, that's petty, that's not going to happen. And then it was like, well, actually it could happen. And so we said, well, it is what it is. We're doing it. We did the coffee shop for the right reasons. It wasn't for us. I'm willing to step in and help with the mayor position for the right reasons. Like, I didn't have an agenda. I said, I'll just help get the city back on track as best I can. And but we had also a vested interest.
Yeah.
And we have some vacant buildings, and I tell our council, as a council member, I'd say, hey, we need to promote getting some businesses here. And they say, well, that's what our Chamber of Commerce is for. Somebody else has said, what are you talking about? Like, if we get some tax revenue, that's a tax base that then all of a sudden sales tax starts coming in. It's for, quote unquote, free money for the city. It's not, it's tax money that comes to them without, it's passive income. And they never even crossed their minds that was necessary, even though we rely on, the state and, federal government for probably 95% of our funding as a city. So it kind of, we look back at, we've in our building when we were demoing it or pulling parts, we found some old logs, ledgers, and you found the old newspapers that are bound over at the library. You see, look at like 100 years ago, every week in the local paper, it says 100 years ago this week. And it says, oh, this or that. Well, it was a business owner that was on the council or the mayor. It was all these local businesses because they wanted their town to succeed because it was their business and their livelihood. And so even now, as these elections are coming up for our stuff, I'm hoping that I have a regular job. So I've told some, other folks like, hey, if no one else is going to do it, who is?
Yeah.
And you have a vested interest. You have a business here. If the town, something doesn't work or, something happens to the city, like that's your livelihood too. And so it's trying to get that, but there's, a lot of apathy. And there's people that have served the town before and they kind of say, well, it's the next generation's turn. And for a long time here, the next generation left. They never came back. And so now there's people coming back, which is a cool thing too. But most of those folks are farmers and they live outside of the city limits. So they can run for the school board, but they can't run for city council, or they can run for the fire district, fire commissioners, but not, so it's, we're kind of limited to what we have here. So, but, we're, like Heather said, some other towns in our county, there's 7 or 8 of them. Not everyone they're not all prospering, and like, why aren't they? And part of it's because they don't have people that care. And, Heather mentioned the pride here too. There's a lot of pride, but it's also, it's a lot of people just like think it's going to, like it just exists. It grows on trees. And you don't have to tend, to nurture it. And, you don't have to give it water, and you don't have to feed it and love it. And you have to, otherwise it's like, oh, you turn around and it's already passed you by. So, so it's been I've tried working with, Heather mentioned the folks at the hotel there, they're trying to get things done. I remember going to the first week talking to the maintenance crew and the clerk, and I said, I understand what they're going through. They're trying to get their building to work. Why wouldn't we help them do that as a city? Like, why is there resistance? And it wasn't there was resistance. It was like, but does it really matter, right? Do we need to, like, is there any urgency? Yeah, when you're trying to get something up and going, there is. So I've been, looking back, I say, well, hopefully I helped some of the folks, people that were thinking of doing something, to bring to the city, I guess, the mindset that we're local government, and government always slows things down, and government's this and it's red tape, but that does exist for various reasons. But we also can be business friendly and renovation friendly, revival friendly, to get these things back there, because we have a city 21 miles away or a little town that those buildings, they've already demolished 2 or 3 of those brick buildings. They're never going to come back. It's too expensive. They'll never see them again. So it's just, again, if you're from here, or if, in these places, you don't really know what you're missing until it's gone. It's it's like that old adage. But we came from a big city, and it's like, oh, you don't know what you have. Trust us, type of thing. But it's so.
That's good. Well, you guys, I think I love how you've incorporated history into this place, but you've also, you're bringing in Wi-Fi and a co-working space. So tell us kind of what was your thought about what you were going to offer here and how you were going to make kind of the connection from the past to today's generation.
Some of that actually just fell into place. So most of the floor here is original, but there's about a third of it that wasn't because of a leak. And so we looked for floor. I looked online, went to Spokane to some recycled, building places, and it never really happened. And I saw stuff on Craigslist for a Canadian mill that I could buy brand new wood to match it up, and it didn't work. And Heather asked some folks, and they found an old schoolhouse 10 miles away that had been abandoned 50 years ago. And they said, well, there's floor out there, but I don't know if it's the same size or whatnot. So Heather and I and another couple went out with some hog grain shovels, and we walked through stuff that was up to our knees and started shoveling, and it's all tongue and groove, and it was all hand nailed, and we pulled it out nail by nail. And it's a little bit different, but it's the same width and thickness is all that mattered.
Yeah.
So we use that. The tables that we're sitting here, this is the subfloor from that schoolhouse that we got the wood from. The bar over there is a barn wood from a barn that's right outside of town. That's the Mollering Brothers barn that's been there. That's falling down, and the owner said, "Yeah, I'm probably just going to burn it. So take what you want." And it was pretty cool because we needed this stuff. It wasn't meant to be like, oh, we're trying to, recycle and save all this stuff for historic reasons. We needed to actually use it, and it turned out really cool. And then with the stuff in the back, that was our phase 2 for an office. I just needed an office space. And so we ended up putting all that brand new floor back there. And then along the way, people said, what are you doing back there? I said, office or work. Well, can I rent a place back there? Well, are you going to do it like full time, or can I just come in here once in a while? Well, come in whenever you want. So next thing we know, another guy who rents full time, he was in Spokane at a tech company that they downsized their physical office space. They said, hey, go work from home. He lives 10 miles out of the country out of here. No internet at his house. So he's like, hey, I can go to Spokane still, $25 to $30 a day in gas, and pay rent. Or if you want to rent me a space here, I'll be here full time. I was like, oh, cool. So we built a conference room. It's like a shared office space, Harrington style. And we have some people that come in every day, some people that come in once a week, some people that say I want to use it for 2 hours to meet some clients in the conference room. And it's all been organic. We haven't even tried. We just actually put the co-working sticker on the window, but we haven't advertised it, and it's all, we're like, man, what if we do advertise? What's going to happen? We have to find another place.
Find another building.
But I'll let Heather answer some of that stuff too, but I think to say a lot of it's just, it kind of happened. Like it just fell, it worked out for whatever reason, like it was meant to be. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. It was, we utilized the things that were around us. We, had found a countertop that was across the street in another building. Justin and I were walking one day and we saw it in there, and we approached the building owners and said, hey, there's a cabinet in there. It looks like it would be great for our coffee shop counter. And come to find out, it was actually the counter that was next door in my great-grandfather's insurance office.
Ah.
And her grandmother stood behind that counter when she was 16 years old. I mean, again, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Weird.
It just really all fell into place, and being able to utilize some flooring and wood from a schoolhouse that was falling down is a great story. People come in and go, oh, my mom went to that school, or oh, I remember going there when I was a kid, for different things. And
we found somebody
we
that's come in
that.
here that did go to that school. So we've met one person who actually was a student at that school.
Wow.
100 years, almost.
Yeah.
We have a door goes to our closet that's from that school. Wainscoting and flooring, and our tables are built from that. And
well, the barn stuff too. We have that other barn. We have the sliding barn. We have real barn doors with real barn.
And then we
sliders.
had my aunt and uncle live here in town, and they spent a lot of time and energy helping us with all of our projects. My uncle built all these tables, and they've worked really hard to help us do these things just out of the kindness of their heart.
The barn doors over here.
Yeah,
too.
they built barn doors and have cleaned and painted and built things, and just one thing after another they've helped us with. So we couldn't have planned it any better. It just all came together. It really, really has. And we have sweet people in town that bring us things that say, this was originally here. Do you want to show it off here? Or this is a picture that has some people from town. You want to show it off here or hang it up? And he's always like, are you sure? Are you sure you want it? I'm like, yeah, it's a great story. People love to see it. It makes people happy. So bring it in.
It's almost like they're all conversation pieces.
Sure.
And just random, and you don't know where the conversation is going to start or end with it, or who's going to, from what angle. But that's the great thing about it. It's all just
those connections.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody who's considering a similar situation to what you guys have done? Whether it be just making that move to moving rural, or taking the leap and opening a business in a small town?
Well, when we moved, a lot of our friends said they were envious because they're like, we could never do that. And like we said it earlier, in our conversation today, if you would have asked us a week before, we would have said we couldn't have did it. And,
Now we would say, just do it.
just do it.
Just do it. But you got to have an open mind. I mean, it's not going to work the same. It's not. You have to be willing to make changes and go with it. And
your life will be different from wherever you come from. So it's not going to be the same as our story, but that's the beauty of it. You get to make your own story. But when you come from somewhere else, your experience and how you choose to make that experience is really what, helps drive that. But even with somebody the other day told us, some lady wrote us a thank you note and said, I didn't know your guys' story that well. Like I come to town and I talk to you guys quite a bit, but I didn't realize that you guys didn't really plan this and you guys didn't think it out and talk to every single person in town to see if they would support you. You guys just did it. And she goes, now that's what I love about you guys for doing it. She goes, it gave me hope that I want to do that. And she actually has a line of, products and clothes that we actually sell in here now. And she brings us eggs. She bought us, it's just cool. But I think there was some other people at the same time. There was like stories, I think somebody's maybe they want to open a coffee shop too, or they're going to do this or a cafe. And if we would have waited for them to do it, we would still be waiting because no one's done anything. They haven't done those. For various reasons, things fell apart for this one family. This other thing fell apart for another family. So we just did it and said, let's just do it. And if there's two coffee shops across the street from each other, hey, so be it. Maybe one's going to serve, decaf and one's going to serve caffeinated coffee.
We've never looked at the other businesses in town as competition. It's always been complementary to each other.
Yeah.
The more people we can bring to town, the better for us. We love it here. We love visitors to come and just check it out. We know that living in a small town like this is not for everyone, and we don't try to talk people into it. It really works well for us, and we're hopeful that maybe we could get a few more families in town. It would be beneficial to our community and some more businesses, but we're all here to work together, and we're all here to support each other. We're not here to compete with each other. And
it's too small of a town to do that.
Yeah.
With 420 people, we always say it's like a fishbowl, and it works for some and it doesn't work for others. But so far, knock on wood, it's worked out great for us.
Yeah. And I love that you have a lot of great things on the menu, but you have worked to keep it like it's affordable, right? So to just come in for a cup of coffee,
we're not here to make huge profits. We're here to cover our costs and be open for the community. Luckily, this does not have to support our family. Justin has another job that he's able to work from here and do. And I run the coffee shop for the most part, and the reason we do it is for the community and to just, cover our costs. So we are real simple with what we have. We don't do anything fancy. We try to offer enough choices for people and make it affordable. Kids can come in and grab a cookie or ice cream or whatever. We want it to be just a place for the community to feel comfortable and come. And if people want to come in and sit down and read a book and not order a coffee, I have no problem with that. If they want to meet a friend here and just have a chat, no problem with that. That's what we're here for.
It's so good.
And a lot of our menu too, it's evolved over time. It wasn't, when we first started, it was basically coffee and some muffins. And then people asked other things, and we said, hey, we've talked to the health department, we can't do that, but we can do this. Or we talked to the health department, and they said, why don't you try that? We can see. And so it's been cool because that's evolved. And now we have cookies. We actually get some local baked goods from a lady that's the next town over, and she's 80 years old, and her daughter brings the stuff in, when we order it, basically, on her way to work in the next town. So it's like that old, adage, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It kind of does. It takes a community. It takes a rural county to make it work. But like I said, our stuff wasn't, we knew we couldn't be a restaurant, and we have a grocery store across the street that sells hot dogs, so we didn't want to do that. We have a golf course that between the months of April and September is a cafe, and but we're like, soup is easy. It's grab and go. It's easy if someone wants to stop here. We didn't want to have to worry about turning the tables like in a restaurant. Well, if we don't have so many customers,
that's the best part of it is I don't come to work every day going, man, we got these numbers we got to hit, or we got to sell so much of this stuff. Not once do I ever worry about that. We we have what we have. And some guys came in this morning and said, "Oh, we're looking for a farmer's breakfast." And I said, "Well, you're not going to get that here. Let me tell you how to get to the golf course. Go order up there." Like, I mean, we just keep it simple, and we have what we have, and we try to create a warm and friendly environment for people. And if we don't have what you have, I'll try to tell you where to get it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they say you're a coffee shop. How do you're only open 8 to 4 and you're not open 7 days a week. And I say, well, it's Harrington. Like, that's not what the people here want. Like, the farmers, like, they don't come in, they're out in their fields that early. So they might come through, like right now with the harvest going on, the drivers are coming through, but some people, they haven't had this before. So it's really low key, and we tell someone like, oh, we might get, on Saturdays, we probably get, 50 customers on a regular Saturday, and regular, weekdays, it might be 25 to 35. And people go, wait a second, I'm doing the math. And I was like, again, like Heather said, we don't do it for income. Our daughter is now working here. She turns 16 at the end of this month, and she has a food handler's permit. And so she's been helping us this summer, and it's Heather and I. Heather's the bulk of it. On Saturdays, I try to open up and, let her sleep in. And, and it's not even work. Like, that's the cool thing. You just talk to people. Like, I don't even get tired of it. I travel. I catch a late flight. The last flight into Spokane is at midnight. It means I get home at around 1 o'clock when I get my car and my bags. And I have no problem getting up at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning or something to get here early. Or it's a completely different thing I've ever done before. And we get to talk to people, and then they want to pay you to make them a coffee. So it's like, it's kind of humbling. It really, and then they want to give you a tip. We didn't have a tip jar when we opened. Yeah. And people said, you have to have a tip jar. We have to, and I said, no, we're just, and it was almost like a fight. And we're like, so finally we said, okay, but that's even more humbling. People not only pay you for a service, but then they're like, well, let me give you a tip because we appreciate you guys doing this.
Yeah.
That's when we've had some people give us $5, $10, $20 bills in the tip jar, and you're kind of like, what the heck? And it's kind of cool, but again, it's like, well, thank you. But what do you say to them? But they're the ones that are more thankful than you are. I mean,
yeah,
just because you did it. So I don't know.
Well, what's next for you guys?
School starts in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't have anything in the pipeline right now. So.
Yeah, we just finished. I guess it'll be almost a year for the back. It's been about 7 months, 8 months now, and we've been trying to encourage other people to do some of this, some of these other buildings that we have. We met a person that actually who lived here for a while, or grandparents and parents did. He lives in Spokane, and he's like a artist and does a lot of cool, like, big tables like this, or he repurposes old, and he wants to come back. So we've been trying to connect him with some people in town that have a building or buildings, and we're kind of like, oh, let's just take a breath and let's breathe. Let's enjoy it, because this is what we moved here for a reason. The reason we moved here was to slow down, and we've been, for random reasons, like, it's been pretty fast paced. And so now it's kind of like, let's enjoy what we do. And actually, it's the cool thing too. Heather and I will try to work every Saturday together, or most of it. It's fun. Like, we get to talk to each other, and and it's even different now with the offices in the back. We're here every day together. Sometimes she'll have to run across the street, and I'll, if the kids aren't here, I'll try to do that for a bit too. But so we don't really have any big plans other than trying to, help people.
Yeah, maintain what we've got and encourage other people, and we're both pretty involved in other projects going on in town. And
Heather's the president of our PDA now,
okay.
And she's also on the Historic Preservation Committee. She's a Chamber of Commerce member.
We just work together with other people. I mean,
I learned something today. I think they said it was STP, the same 10 people, and I thought that was funny because it's, again, when you're involved in these things, you kind of do know what's going on, and it is beneficial to go to the next meeting, even if you go there to observe or to say, hey, this is just to make sure you guys know what the other hand's doing, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. It's been good, because that also is a new concept for some of the people here. Everyone kind of was siloed off and did their own thing, and then it was like, wait a second, you guys, we have limited resources to begin with. Why don't you collaborate? Why don't you work together? And they're like, oh, I didn't know we could do that, and maybe try it.
That's great. Well, how do we follow along with everything you guys are doing? And
We're on Instagram at the Post and Office and on Facebook. And we have a website that will be launching here soon, just kind of a small informational website, but
Perfect.
Give some information. So, yeah.
Yep. Heather's in charge of all of our social media and print advertising, and
Wow.
which we don't do need from.
We're so far
Wink,
out
wink.
that we usually use social media as best we can to get the word out, and then word of mouth.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, anything else you guys want to share about?
Did I mention she's the First Lady of Harrington? No, hey, we're thankful for you coming out here too. It's just cool to see this, even to follow you and to see the places you've been. And we're kind of excited that this is the farthest west you've come out, because most people think rural, they think the flyover states, and they think of the Southeast or the South. And we have it, the great thing about Washington or Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, these places exist everywhere. And it's amazing at how really, they talk about small businesses are the generator of the national economy, and how much it really, and that's what it is, in all these little small towns, and they are everywhere. And,
Yeah.
It's worth your time to seek them out and get to know the people that run them, and there's always a great story behind it.
And there's always plenty of opportunity to get involved. Somewhere along the way, and you find whatever your passion is with that. I'm sure that there's 3 openings, so you could at least fill one of them.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. This has been great. I love what you have going on here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, I love that when Heather and Justin say they did this for the community, they really mean that. And after visiting Harrington, I can tell you firsthand what an amazing job they have done, and so many other people have done in Harrington as well. I love Heather and Justin's perspective on looking at their small town from a place of opportunity rather than a place of lack, and I couldn't agree more. I see big things ahead for Harrington, so much so that all week long we'll be featuring stories of revival happening in Harrington on our blog. So be sure to check out ruralrevival.co and follow along. Thanks again to Heather and Justin for being on the podcast and for all they're doing for their community. And thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Have a great day, everybody.